Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Bonus Points Podcast. I'm Joe Garrett, as always being joined by Ollie Guy. Oi, oi, Ollie.
I want to be the very best. It sounds like I'm like a farmer.
I want to be the very best, I do. The whole field of milk tack. So what are they called? The weird milky cow Pokemon. Anyway, yeah, welcome to the Bonus Points Podcast. If you're new here, basically two childhood friends play through video games, discuss them, and then we rank them based on how much fun we had and debate furiously. But that will come up later.
Are you giving the full intro? You think this is going to be a big one?
I mean, I think maybe by our standards, probably bigger than Zone of the Enders 2 that we did in the last podcast.
I think so. I think you might be right.
But yeah, let's explain what we're talking about. So we're doing Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Yep.
Because they're so similar, we thought we might as well put them together. This was my choice. So before we get into it too much, do you want to kind of explain, I guess, read the wiki explanation of Pokemon Gold and Silver?
Right. Pokemon Gold version and Pokemon Silver version are 1999 role-playing video games developed by Game Freak and published by Nintendo for the Game Boy Color, but with backwards compatibility for the Game Boy. They are the first installments in the second generation of the Pokemon video game series. They were released in Japan in 1999, Australia and North America in 2000, and Europe in 2001. The games introduce 100 new species of Pokemon and follow the progress of the player character in their quest to master Pokemon battling. Both games are independent of each other but feature largely the same plot, and while both can be played separately, it's necessary to trade between them and their predecessors in order to fully complete each game's Pokedex.
Okay. Do you want to explain your, I guess, Pokemon credentials? Like, what's your history with the series?
So I got and finished Red when it came out, which is the first one. So obviously I was very young then. I also bought on release Ruby on the Game Boy Advance, Sword, and Arceus. They're the only ones I've ever, like the main ones I've ever played. So
Sword Switch?
Yeah, the one before the most recent Switch one.
Yeah. Okay, and then for me, similar for back in the day, I had Blue though.
Yep.
And got completely obsessed. Like I was for my Pokemon love shone like bright and then burnt out quick. So I kind of had 2 years of Pokemon is everything. Yeah. And then I never got Gold and Silver back in the day.
Me neither.
I never even asked for it. I don't not that
you were over it.
I think I would have loved it. I was the same back in the day. I never asked for a home console. Yeah. I never had one, but
you told me about your tortured childhood. Many times.
So I kind of completely didn't care about Pokemon at all. And then I only got back into it relatively recently, kind of through YouTube, because obviously on Stampy I did kid-friendly videos, and it was always a challenge for me to make sure I'm finding a video that's a game that I find interesting and care about, and then also is good for the audience. And I was like, if I play some of the modern Pokemon games, I can do series of them. So I ended up doing series on X and Y, which was the 3DS one,
3DS,
Sun and Moon, and Sword and Shield. I played through as a let's play, or I think I live streamed one of them. I think the most recent one, Sword and Shield, the most recent other ones I played. Then I also played Let's Go Pikachu for the.
Oh yeah, I played a bit of that actually. Yeah, I did play. I did actually buy that and played a bit of it. It was quite easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. It was cool seeing modern HD version.
Yeah, I remember Haunter was absolutely massive. That's my main memory. Haunter was the size of a bus, and you could ride on his back. Do you remember that? He was huge.
You can ride on Onyx and stuff.
Yeah, but Haunter was the size of Onyx.
Oh, really?
He was huge. Yeah.
I guess they wanted more Pokemon you can ride on their back.
Yeah.
I mean, Haunter could be any size. It's a ghost.
Yeah, we bought it a lot for the co-op, and then the co-op ended up not being that good. So I think that's why we ended up not playing it. Putting it down after a little while. So
yeah, I thought it was okay, that one. But then I'd say probably about every 3 years, maybe every 4 years, I replay the original generation.
Oh wow!
So I normally play Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah,
because that's the original ones they were great, but they were quite buggy. And also, you couldn't have all three of the starters, obviously.
Yeah.
So I kind of, if I'm going to play the original generation, even though it's not the one I had back in the day, I play yellow, and also it's in color.
Yeah.
Because the original games weren't in color, whereas these ones were in color.
Yeah, I feel like before we talk about this particular Pokemon game, there's a couple of questions we just need to get out of the way. Who's your favourite Pokemon?
Squirtle.
Mine's Wartortle, of course. One
It would
above.
have to be one
above, one
better.
better, and
I like Blastoise.
Yeah.
Go on, get out of here. Yeah.
that's Jack Marshall. And Pokemon spin-offs as well, because I think this is going to be the Pokemon episode for at least a long time.
Oh, you mean like other games in the series and TV shows? And
So I loved Pokemon Go. I played that a lot when it came out, and I played it for like a good few years as well. And I also played and finished Pokemon Puzzle League as well on the Game Boy Color. Well, I finished it on the Analog Pocket actually, but the Game Boy Color version. And I also played a little bit of Pokemon Unite, which is like the League of Legends one, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Oh yeah, that's quite recent, isn't it? Yeah, another one.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I played. I'm playing at the moment in tandem with this. I was playing the Pokemon card trading game, which I spoke about in Extra Credit. If you kind of want to hear more thoughts on that, but in summary, it's good. I like it. It's surprisingly good for a card game on the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've also been watching the TV series.
As have I.
Yeah, so they're all on like Amazon Prime for like free if you have Prime. Like you don't need to like buy or rent them. So been watching them. I mean, there's so many of them. I think there's like 80 or something. So I've been watching through those and enjoying that. I don't think I've played. Oh, I played the most recent Snap. I did like live streams of. On Switch, and I thought it was
They don't look like much fun.
Yeah.
I always thought they looked like like House of the Dead or something, like a slow one of those.
Well, I think it was originally the original one on N64 wasn't meant to be a Pokemon game.
Really?
I don't know if it was a shooting game, but it was meant. I think it might have just been a wildlife photography game or something.
That sounds like Nintendo.
Yeah, and then they just like reskinned like a badger to be like Bulbasaur.
And Nintendo would be like, "It's a game about viewing beetles," and then for ages, and they'd be like, "Oh, we should just put Pokemon on it."
Yeah, I don't think anything. Oh, obviously, Pokemon card trading game back in the day. Loved
actual physical cards.
Yeah, but just collecting them, not playing it. Just having a big. I've still got my giant folder full of Pokemon cards upstairs.
We actually talked about it on Extra Credit, but it was like you used to have like your deck, and then you just have a massive wedge of energy cards that you just have a bit like dirty elastic band round. Yeah, you just be like, "These are my energy cards."
Because I had that. I had like a box of like energy. I'd also just like. Loads of like Bill, the like or like super potion cards.
or like Bill's potion, like some specific weird
those weird like the fossil version of Bill and stuff. So I've lost all of those like throwaway ones. I've thrown away apparently. I mean, I can't remember doing it, but I can't find them. I've only got my folder where I've got like quite a big collection of Pokemon cards from like back in the day, like ones that I got.
Yeah.
So let's go. Are you good to go into this game specifically?
I am, but you do also have your little display.
Oh, yeah.
I came in I'm running late, so I came in 50 minutes late today, which is, may I say, the first time I've ever been late. I'm very punctual, and then I just saw that you'd set up your display, and I was like...
in fact, we're running out of time, so let's do the list. I think it should be around 14. Thanks for watching, everyone.
I came in and saw this, and I was like, this game isn't going low. This one's not going low on the list.
You know, in the game, there's like Poker Fan. That's me. I battled one of the Poker Fans, and they just had 6 Pikachus, and that really made me laugh. And they're wearing like a Pikachu t-shirt, like Poker Fan. But yeah, so this is these obviously the cartridges of Gold and Silver, and like the box ones, and then there's a Game Boy that was a gift for me. Did I say this?
Are any of these childhood?
This.
That's the original Pokemon Blue.
Original. Yeah, the battery is sadly dead, so all my Pokemon's died.
Can I see it?
But that is the one that got me into Pokemon.
I was
looking. In the day.
I wanted to see it because I wanted to see if it had the like sun bleached top part of the cartridge where it's like sits in the Game Boy like this. It's like the top part's bleached. I knew it would be.
That's probably from. There's a time when we were young where, as a family, we drove to Italy, and we had to go through Switzerland. And my parents were like outraged that we were driving through probably the most beautiful scenery in the world. And I'm there playing Pokemon, and they were like, put your Game Boy down and look at the view. And I couldn't have cared less about it. It's like a thing that I would love to like see now, but all I wanted to do was play Pokemon.
Nice. Is that also Crystal there?
Yeah, that's Crystal.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, so Crystal is, I didn't realize this at the time because we could have just done Pokemon Crystal. So for those that don't know, basically, obviously there's Gold and Silver, as I'm sure you know, they're basically the same. They have a few difference in terms of like the Pokemon that you can get in them. So the idea is that I get gold, you get silver, and we trade so we can get all the Pokemon.
Yeah.
But then Crystal released afterwards, and it's for Game Boy Color only, which means they're able to make some graphical improvements. They changed the story. There's a new legendary, like the Pokemon animate a little bit. So that probably should have been the one we played.
Yeah, maybe. But we didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
realize that.
Because obviously I didn't play... So I didn't play Gold and Silver back in the day, but I did have a cartridge that was like 25 games in one. Like some dodgy thing.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid.
And it was like Pokemon Black.
Yeah, well it had all the Pokemon, but it had a version of Gold and Silver, but with a really bad translation. And I realize now it's just different. So there's bits that I remember. I remember at the beginning when, like, you know, you got to talk to your rival and he like pushes you and you like bounce away. I don't know if you did that.
Yeah.
So that I remember. But then there's areas that I remember from that version that just weren't in this. And I was like, oh, it was like
just
a weird mix match of all of these different ones. And then had versions that were just in Japanese and bad. Like it was all rubbish. So that was my only experience with these games before this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I never played Gold and Silver, and I also didn't. It had a remake as well, which I also didn't play. Which had the Pokewalker, which was like you could put the Pokemon on it and you walk around with it and it levels it up, which is kind of like how the daycare works in the game.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about what we're here for. So I played Gold. You played Silver.
Yep.
Don't think there's any dramatic differences between them, is there?
No. It's mainly like the legendary, the Pokemon you get, and then like a few very minor things.
Yeah, I think also the Crystal version has differences again, doesn't it? Like, because I had to look up a part, but basically I missed the whole burn tower. And I went back for it, and it was like, oh, in the Crystal version, this, and this happens, rather than like spreading the legendaries and that.
Yeah, apparently they add more story, and like the legendary Pokemon that's in Crystal is like much more part of the story, apparently. But yeah, I've not played that.
But yeah, so I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, do we need to explain? Catch monsters, turn-based game, you battle them, top-down view. It's run on the Game Boy Color, so it's not like doesn't look amazing or anything, but I'm sure every single person that's ever listening to this has seen or played Pokemon at some point.
Pokemon?
Yeah. And what's that short for? So yeah, what did you think? What was your first?
Yeah, so I'm obviously hugely nostalgic for the original games.
Yeah.
And so the reason I chose to do these ones rather than the original ones is because I know at the end we're going to do it on a list, and I was like, if I do these original ones, I'm going to be so biased because of nostalgia. Like, I know I will enjoy it more because of the nostalgia. Whereas I thought if I do this one, like, I'm basically talking about the Pokemon of the era where I loved it, but I don't, even though I have nostalgia for the art style and some of the music and stuff, like, I don't have nostalgia to this specific one. So I thought this was kind of like the best of both. So like loading into it, just like immediately hearing those sounds. And
well, I was going to say, it's very close to the
yeah. And like getting into the world, but it being like new and most of the Pokemon that came up, I was like, I've never seen these before. I don't know whether there just wasn't many iconic Pokemon or I was so checked out of Pokemon by the time this came out. Like, a lot of these Pokemon, I'm like seeing them for the first time, and I kind of fell in love with like a new group of Pokemon that I'd never seen.
Yeah, also, because there was a 2-year gap between the Japanese release and the UK release, I remember there being drips of these Pokemon coming over to the UK and us being like, is it fake? Or what the hell is that? And in the show, one of the first episodes, the legendary bird from this game flies overhead, and Ash is like, "Oh, what's that?" And I remember at the time literally being like, "I've never seen that in my life."
But it was like right at the beginning of the series.
Yeah, that's right.
Well.
Yeah. But then I remember like seeing like Japanese Pokemon cards and being like, what the hell is that? Like a Miltank or whatever. It's being like, did you? Or Red Gyarados, and I was like, that's a fake card. Like, that's not real. Like,
did you end up? Because I was such a weird kid. Like because I got some of those newer Pokemon cards, and I remember just really like not liking them. Like, I don't like these ones, like because I knew those original ones so well. And I had so many like books with info about them. Like they were like all my gang, and then I'd see like one of those like unknowns, like those weird symbol ones. I'd be like, I don't like them. Then that's not my Pokemon. Make Pokemon great again.
Yeah. My grandparents went to America and they brought me back like a booster pack of like Pokemon fossil cards.
Yeah.
And that had loads of random ones in it. And I was literally like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then I remember going to school and being like, those cards we saw weren't fake. I've got more. Like, just crazy. Oh, I can't believe we're not talking about the game again. We're veering off.
I mean, this is the Pokemon episode.
This is the Pokemon episode, yeah.
Unless a guest choose one, we're not going to do another one.
Yeah.
And so it really felt like, because obviously we announced we're doing this one, and at the time we got a comment saying like, oh, why this one? And then I had a glance through some of the comments we got this time, and it's like, I thought this was considered like one of the beloved ones. And maybe it's just kind of the average age of our audience, but a lot of them were like, why this one? Or why not like the remakes on DS, like Soul Silver and Heart Gold, where they remade it? Like, why not that one? So, I mean, the reason for that is because I think they look worse, the remakes.
I haven't even seen them. I don't even know what they look like.
I mean, because they're 3D.
Not like fully 3D. Though.
Yeah, they're polygons on the DS.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so, like, obviously, like, it's, you know, technically more advanced, but I think it's kind of aged worse, the art style. And then also, as I say, I have nostalgia to the original one, so that's why I decided to do them. But I was kind of surprised that it seems like, even though these were beloved at the time, maybe people don't look back as fondly on this generation.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably not to start with negative, but the reason for that is probably because of the way leveling works. I can imagine now picking this up. Well, I mean, I don't need to imagine I did it. Picking it up now and being like, wow, it takes a really long time to level up your Pokemon in this game. So, like, if you're playing through it like we were, it's kind of like you can get stuck for quite a long time. And then it's like, oh, I need to level this Pokemon. That could take like an hour.
So what are your thoughts? So obviously in this game and the original generation, the Pokemon that is battling will get the experience, which logically makes sense. You can obviously, if you have like a really low level Pokemon, you do the thing where you like go Togepi, Togepi, come back, go Charizard, you know? so as long as 50-50, like they were in the fight too. Like, so obviously you can do that. And then in later Pokemon games, they normally added it as an item, but I think maybe now it's just by default. Like, all of the Pokemon in your party gain experience during a fight.
Yeah.
Like, what do you prefer of those two kind of leveling styles?
Well, on the newer games with that leveling where they all get a bit of experience, I was thinking like, oh, this is actually really easy and kind of lame. But then when I went and played this one, I was like, God, I wish they were all getting experience, because it takes a long time to. Like, I remember for probably about 2 hours, I was throwing Geodude out at the beginning of every fight. He was getting slapped, and I was pulling him back in. Like, and that would be like his bit of the fight until he was a high enough level to deal with like whatever it was I was stuck on. It might have been that Miltank Whitney fight.
Yeah,
I think I got stuck on that one for quite a long time. But yeah, I think actually XP share across all of them, it's just a bit easier, isn't it? It's a bit easier.
Yeah, like I think maybe before playing this,
yeah,
I would have been like weirdly stuck on like, it doesn't make sense. They were sitting in like a Pokeball on my belt. Why do they get experience? But it's sort of like, well, in terms of gameplay, it makes sense. Like, there is something satisfying about getting like oh, I've caught a Caterpie, but I've nearly finished the game. I'm going to go to an N level and I'm going to like get it to like fight a level 50 thing, and its XP is going to go doot. I keep leveling. Like, there is like satisfying about that, but there is obviously a much bigger time investment.
Also, it feels like the XP you get, it's like quite random. So it's like, you'd think that you'd get loads of XP from fighting something like a certain Pokemon because it's near the level of the one you're using. Then it doesn't, and then you only get like 85, but then you'll fight a trainer and you'll get like 500. And it's a bit like, I was just like, I don't know how much I'm going to get.
I realized fighting Magikarp, they give you like nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's Magikarp, which are like really high level, but all they can do is splash. And I was like, perfect. I bring all my low level Pokemon here, like catch a Magikarp with a rod. And then it's like way higher, but I'm eventually going to kill it by itself. But then they thought of that. They don't give you anything.
Actually, speaking of that bit, I was going to say how far you finished it, right?
So I finished the new region, the Johto region.
Yep.
I finished that. So I beat the Elite Four, which you fight in Kanto region, which is like the Elite Four. You go back to the original game. That's where it's the same one. You got Victory Road again.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It's all changed. And so I did that. And I'm now making my way through Kanto and doing all of those badges. So I finished. I rolled credits, but I'm still playing.
Right, I got up to the bit where you have to like, you go to that lake, and then you have to go like under a shop, and then there's like Team Rocket keep jumping out from behind statues.
Yeah,
I got to there last night, and I was like, I've had enough of this, so I stopped. That's where I got up to, and I stopped.
So are you saying you've had enough overall? Like, you're not going to go back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'd quite like to beat this gym. that because the next gym I think I'm going to smash it because I know it's water, and I've got a electric sheep thing that's just going to absolutely rinse them. But it's like I need to keep going through that underground bit to find the switch to turn off the cameras, and it's like I went the wrong way at the beginning, so I've done loads more of like getting jumped by Team Rocket than I probably needed to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I'll go back to it or not. I don't know. I mean, I played for almost 16 hours, so I played quite a lot.
Can we see? I know you got ready. I'm curious.
I am ready.
Can you show me your team or your Pokedex? How many were you capturing Pokemon? Like,
I was
for capturing
kept,
them, or just for your team?
No, I was trying to. So basically, I always have the same problem with Pokemon games. Actually, let me show you this first, and I'll go into that. What's that thing called? Sorry, I renamed my Pokemon, so I don't know.
Okay.
A Flaffy.
What's a Flaffy?
Little sheep guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
His name's Neon because he's neon pink. Then I've got a Pidgeot. I think it's a Pidgeot or whatever the Pidgeotto.
Okay, so that's the final evolution.
Yeah, so he's good because he's got the Gust, and he's got Fly, and he's got the when we spit sand at them and they can't see.
Yeah,
which is really good.
So you use that because I'm someone who I'm just like I never growl or like sand attack or anything.
Well,
like I'm always just like fight unless it's like maybe like against like a really tough one, I'll poison them. But against a normal Pokemon, I'm not going to do anything other than damage.
Well, I had that fight against Steelix, and he's level 35, and my highest Pokemon was like level 28. So I was like, I have to be clever about this. So I was basically blinded it, so it couldn't attack me.
Yeah.
And then I would just chip away at it until it died, which worked. I've got a Kadabra called Miller, named after Steve Miller Band, who sung Abracadabra. I've got a Feral Gator. So I picked the Water Starter. I'm assuming you did as well.
Yeah. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
You didn't?
I chose... Oh, yeah. So I chose Cyndaquil.
Oh, okay.
The fire one.
Yeah, no, I picked he's called Toby. Then I got a Geodude called Gradius, and I've got a Machop, which is that one, you know, the one you can trade for?
Yeah.
I got him. He's called Muscle, so that's the name he was given. But that was my party.
Okay.
No fire Pokemon.
Ah, so was that a struggle?
It was a struggle, yeah. And also I was really struggling to find a fire Pokemon as well. Like, I heard there was one in the Burnt Tower. There's a what's that called? The one with the like balls on its head.
I think it's just called Magmar.
Magmar? Yeah, but I never found him, so...
I mean, there's like Vulpix in the game and like...
Yeah, Growlithe as well, yeah. But anyway, that was my go-to party, and I think I caught about 30 Pokemon overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my ones is my favorite Pokemon from this generation, Quagsire.
Yeah, you love Quagsire.
I love Quagsire. I love the episode in the anime. When I caught a Wooper, like I was so because like Kai's been getting into the Pokemon series as well. Yeah. I was like, oh, I got this Wooper, and I literally when I went to bed, I was like, I'm still smiling about the fact I got this Wooper. I was like, because it's going to evolve into a Quagsire. I got Lugia, which is the legendary one, the one on the box.
Yeah, the one on the box.
Yeah, I got Togetic, which is the evolution of Togepi.
Togepi evolution.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it before.
I'm Pokemon Go. Yeah, I've seen most of these. Yeah,
I got a Sunflora, which is a sunflower.
Yeah,
just like once again, like this is one of the reasons I wanted to watch the anime. Is I wanted a personal connection to the Pokemon. So a lot of these are based on did I like them in the anime. Yeah. I got the Tysplosion, which is the final evolution of Cyndaquil.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
And then I got an Onyx that I was gonna evolve into a Steelix, but then I realized that I need to trade them or something.
Yeah,
so,
I had a few like that where I was like, why is it not evolving?
Yeah, so I think their days are numbered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't see. I caught a lot. I was really anytime I encountered a new Pokemon, I attempted to capture it.
Yeah. So basically, the problem that I have, I'm not very good at Pokemon. I know I'm not very good at it, and I know where I fall short. And even knowing that, I still can't correct what I'm doing wrong. So
I caught just as quick. I caught 63.
Oh, nice one. So the same problems I have with every Pokemon game, which is why I've only ever finished Red, is that I always overlevel one Pokemon way too far.
Yeah.
I overlevel all of my Pokemon, so it makes it really hard to catch anything. So I just kill it. So I'm like, oh, there's something there, and I go to throw it, and I kill it. I come up against a match type that I have nothing for, and I'm like, there's literally nothing I can do except for go back, try and fight against how strong my team are to catch the right Pokemon, and then I have to level it to get through. And also, I just find generally the battles are very slow, and that's always something that puts me off. I did really like about this game how the open world, the overworld sections is fast. Like, not really any interruptions compared to like Pokemon Sword, where every time you go into a town, they're like, "Oh, hey, like
Yeah.
I'm the so and so, I'm the football player of this town. Like, do you want?" And essentially, like, "Shut up!" But like
Yeah.
in this one, they just leave you to it. But the battles in this one were like, you could go like 2 turns, so you've had a go, they've had a go, twice over, and no one's hitting each other.
Yeah.
And it's like some of the moves also cause slowdown. So it's like you're watching this animation. It's like so slow.
Or if they put your Pokemon to sleep, you're like, oh my god. So
Yeah,
like,
so I
you're not
had
even
to-
strong enough to damage me. It's just the time that you're going to take.
I
up.
had 2 scenarios where my Pokemon was put to sleep and the other Pokemon wouldn't attack me. And I couldn't leave because it was a gym battle. So I'd just be like, I can't do anything. I just have to sit here and wait for you to hopefully kill me. And it'd
I'm
be like
gonna
healing.
fall asleep.
It would just be healing itself. And I'm like,
you put Ollie to sleep, Pokemon. With what you're saying about like the dialogue, like one of
Yeah.
the things I was thinking about. So like, I don't really like JRPGs
Yeah.
in general, and like obviously these are just JRPGs.
Yeah,
is kind of what they are. And I was thinking like, why do I love this so much?
Mhm.
Like even like this one that I've never played before. Why do I love it so much? And I think it's because of the hardware limitation. They can't talk
Yeah,
too
of
much. Like
course, yeah.
it's like my problem with most JRPGs, and I realize I'm generalizing here, and to be honest, to generalize even more with a lot of Japanese games in
Yeah.
general, is I feel like there's too much dialogue and the dialogue isn't good enough. And I
Yeah,
feel like there's a lot of Zone of Enders 2 from last
Mhm,
week is a
mhm.
good example. And I think a lot of new Pokemons is there's too much dialogue. The dialogue's not particularly engaging. I don't find it particularly engaging.
Same, yeah.
Whereas the limitations of this means the dialogue's really short, but also quite funny because it's just a lot of people are just quite weird or just say like, not even like purposely funny, but just like, I like catching Caterpie. And
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
and they're just like,
they
you know,
battle you,
fine,
yeah.
yeah, like my Vulpix is great, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then like you get their phone number and they'll call you up and they'll be like, I was battling a Gyarados and it defeated my like Metapod.
Yeah.
Bye. And it's just like funny because it's so silly, like the idea of someone calling you up to tell you that.
I think all of the problems I have with this game, they actually stem from a hardware limitation more than because there's something wrong with the game.
Yeah.
So like, well, I don't want to be too negative, but like the box system
Yeah.
screwed me over where I went to catch something. It was like, your box is full. I was literally like, what?
They warn you when your box is almost full.
I know, but then you got to think I'm putting this to sleep.
You got to heed the
I'm
warnings.
putting my Game Boy to sleep, going doing something, and then coming back, and then I'm like, oh yeah, the box is full.
Yeah.
But it's the same with like the fact that you can only get 2 lines of dialogue in the box. So there's a bit in it where you have to do a quiz, and I got the last question of the quiz wrong. So I had to do them again. So when I did it the second time, I was like, I'm going to count how many times I have to press A to get through this. And it was 30. So by the time I've done it, I've done 60 dialogue boxes in a row. I was like, this is brutally painful. And it's the same with like, oh, I want to teach my Pokemon to move. And it's like, Joe's trying to learn low kick, but Joe can only learn 4 moves. Would you like to delete it? And it's like, yeah. And it's like 1, 2, poof. Joe's forgotten the move. Joe's learned. Like, it's literally like, please just get on with it. My God, man. But I recognize it's because like it only has like 1 kilobyte of RAM, so it can only load like tiny little bits at once. But I mean, the game itself, like, great sense of adventure, great locations. Considering the locations all feel different, considering there's only 1 building and they just repeat it. Like the lighthouse is just a tool house. Like,
but I also think like, yeah, obviously like those hardware limitations are annoying and hurt the pacing. But I think there's also like loads of quality of life things. Like it could be much worse. Like the fact that you can like, oh, I can assign a thing to select, so I can use select to get on the bike. When I go up to cut something, I don't have to go to Pokemon to select cut. I just press A and it's like, oh, you want to cut, right?
I remember
it's
you
like,
used to have to go back, didn't you?
Yeah,
back
you used
in
to
the
have to
day,
like go through.
yeah.
Or like say if you want like if a Pokemon's holding a berry and you want to switch it, you don't have to remove the berry and then you got to put the berry on them. It's like, oh, they already got a berry. Like you want to switch them, right? You know, they're like, I think like even compared to the previous generation, like there is a lot of nice little quality of life things that they added in where because I tried playing not long ago Harvest Moon.
Oh yeah.
And I realized like you can carry 2 tools at a time. You have to bring up the menu to switch them, and then if you want to like have another tool, you got to go home and change. I was just like, no, I'm not. Like just like after playing like Stardew Valley, like where I can just go and do the things, I was like, it's too much menuing. I remember
having that as a kid, playing Ocarina of Time, and then going to the Game Boy Zelda, and you can only have 2 buttons assigned, and being like, this is taking like way too long to do anything. Just quickly though, on what you were saying about quality of life, we got a comment from Evan Harriardi, who always writes in with like behind the scenes stuff. And they said that Gold and Silver was actually intentionally dumbed down. Art director Ken Sugimori let his father play Pokemon Gen 1, but he couldn't figure out how to leave the house. So they made the UI dummy-proof, adding UI descriptions and having the select button to bring out your bike. Sugimori also wanted to simplify every sprite to just 2 colours. So yeah, there you go. That's the bike. Oh, why it came out like that. But I didn't realise that the doors looked different. I don't remember what they used to look like.
No, I don't.
No, not at all.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I kind of remember for like when you're inside. They're like in the old games, it's kind of like almost like a patchwork, just like like cross section of like pixels. I think.
Yeah, but generally, the game is. I mean, it's Pokemon. Like, it's good, right? Like, it's very good. It's just the hardware limitations were quite a big annoyance. Like, to the point where I was starting to get very frustrating to be like, I need to level up this Pokemon.
Do you think the fact that you knew you were doing a podcast in 2 weeks, did that kind of play in terms of you thinking, I want to get through this quicker? Maybe,
but also I have bought Ruby Sword and Arceus and I didn't finish any of them. So maybe. Because Arceus has got a lot, I don't want to talk about it too much because obviously it's a different game, but that has like, your Pokemon are on like a weapon wheel. So like if you want to cut, if you want to cut something, you throw the Pokemon that's cut and it just jumps out and does it, jumps back in again. Same for like collecting berries or fighting with a Pokemon, you just select them on the weapon wheel and throw them. And also all of the experience and learning moves and stuff in that, there's no of the extra text is not there. And like all of your Pokemon level up at the same time. So you don't have to watch them all level up one by one. But I was thinking for this game, I mean, the main frustrations were like, this guy is not killing me, but I know I'm not going to win, so I'm stuck in this fight until it's over. And also throwing a Pokemon out and having to pull it back in to get it to level up. I was thinking what they could have done is made it so that you get all of your experience points after you've beaten the whole trainer, rather than after each Pokemon. And in that way, you could surrender, and then you wouldn't get experience because otherwise you could just kind of cheese it. You know, I mean, beat the first one, surrender, because then you could get away from it. But yeah, that was very painful. Very, very painful. What did you name your rival quickly?
So back in the original Pokemon, like I think a friend told me like that they did this and it was funny or something, but they called themselves. That's not really, like I was primary school. Like, it's not bad. That they like named themselves like an inanimate object.
Yeah,
I don't think they use the word inanimate, but they used to call themselves like a box or something.
Yeah,
and so whenever you did something, it'd be like a box, open this. A box, it's like it's using the computer. So back in my original Pokemon, I called myself a TV. And so to as a callback, I called myself a TV. And so the first thing I do in this game is I load it up and it's like, a TV turned on the TV. And so like, because I found that so funny as a kid. So like in other games, for a while, I just always called myself a TV just because it made me laugh. And so then it was like, name your rival. And I was like, a truck. So it was like, a truck wants to fight. So yeah, I'm a TV and my rival's called a truck.
So every time I went to name something in this game, I would always send it to my partner. It would be like, what should we call this one? So we named the rival Weblet, like Weblett.
Okay.
And then you just don't see the rival again for ages. So then when he turned up, I was like, who the hell is Weblet? Like, who is this guy that just comes out of nowhere? Like, I swear you don't see him for like 6 hours after the beginning.
Yeah, he's quite...
And you see him quite a few times, but he doesn't battle you. He just walks past. But he doesn't say his name. So I was just like, who's this guy?
So I remember that being really like quite intense in the original games, because there'll be times when you'll be going and your Pokemon are weak and you're like, I'm going to get to a Pokemon Center, and then you see him show up. Because with most battles, obviously you see the person and you're choosing whether you want to do it or not, but he'll catch you off guard and I'd be like, I'm not ready. And so there's a few times where he showed up and I was like, I'm not ready. And then he's like, bye. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess you're my rival because you punched me at the beginning.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, a truck came through earlier and he was mean to his Bulbasaur. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, he does. He's horrible, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a well-written, like, he's probably the most horrible rival I've seen in any of the Pokemon games I've played. Because he's literally like, I hate weak Pokemon. They're worthless to me. Whereas the other ones are just like, you're my best friend and I hope to one day beat you.
Yeah. Friendly competition.
Yeah.
Come on, let's fight. Good luck.
Yeah. That's Weblet.
Yeah, because I always think in Pokemon anyway, they always try and set up, like, the story of Pokemon is always like, build a bond with them and care for them and love them. But then, like, the actions are always the opposite. Like, watching, like, the anime, it's like, oh, look, there's this Pokemon, like, oh, this is the Bulbasaur. The Bulbasaur is, you know, and then they're like, oh, cool. Then they're like, Pikachu, you slam attack on it, and I'm going to capture it. And it's like, it was just chilling. And then they're like forcing them to fight, and like, you did well. And it's sort of like, I guess they try and set up that the Pokemon like fighting, but they always say like, treat them with kindness and stuff. But then they just like beat up random Pokemon to capture them.
Yeah, for a long time I was using a Drowsy called Dream Eater, and he would use the move where you put him to sleep and then use Nightmare. So my partner would be like, oh, so like, what are you doing? I'd be like, oh, I'm just putting this little guy to sleep and I'm going to give him a nightmare that kills him. And it's like, oh, it's horrible.
They only faint. They only faint.
And then he just lays in a field while you...
and then you're off on your day like, I'm going to be the champion.
But the we were saying about like them saying, oh, a truck came through here and was horrible, or like your rival would pass you. I was quite impressed at how much it does feel like an actual living world, despite the fact that it's so simple. It's very impressive that it's like, feels like you've got a massive whole world in the Game Boy. It's crazy.
I think the thing that helps with that, and you probably haven't seen as much of it because it's mostly towards the end, is, well, for starters, the game's kind of almost a little bit like a Metroidvania. Like when you're walking through and you're like, oh, there's a patch of water. There's like a thing I can't cut. Or like, I'm in a cave. I can't like use strength to push this. I got to come back later. Then you get to a point in the game where like for like the main quest, you're going back to different places. It's like, oh, go back to the radio tower, now go here. And it feels like, oh, I can access this whole world now. And now it's just like, I need to go to this city for this, or I need to go to this place for this. And I think that helps make it feel like a world rather than like a line that you're walking down.
Yeah, also the fact that the cities have countryside between them, which they're not actually that big, but those routes feel huge. Yeah, they're really only about 4 screens.
You're going through slow because you're fighting like trainers and like random battles and stuff.
What do you think of the random battles?
I think that, I mean, it's annoying when like there's times when you're in a cave or like you're trying to solve a puzzle and you just leave me alone. I've used repels much more than I used to, and I think that makes a big difference. Like going through the water's annoying. Like Tentacool is like the worst Pokemon because they're just everywhere and they're just and they're like poison you or confuse you and stuff. Like that text where it's like they were hurt from confusion. Like it gives me anxiety just seeing just those like literally just the words, those characters in that way, because I hate like when it's like not only did I not damage them, I hurt myself.
Damage yourself,
So it's another, but like I think if you use repels, it's better. But I think that was probably my biggest frustration was the random battles.
I think particularly in water, going between, because I had to go between Olivine and, is it called like Cianwood or something?
Yeah,
I had to, because I couldn't beat the gym on the other side, so I had to go back and forth. I went back and forth probably about 3 or 4 times, and it is literally like, please leave me alone. Please
did you learn Fly?
I have it now. Yeah, I beat the gym in the end. Yes, now I can fly. But because I didn't beat it the first time, I had to manually go back. And also I kept running out of money because I'd run out of trainers to fight, and I was buying repels and I was buying potions.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing with this game is that you'll get poisoned, you'll use an antidote, and then the next turn you'll get poisoned again, or you'll be put to sleep, awaken, you're asleep again. Sometimes I feel like the battle system puts you on the back foot when maybe it shouldn't. Like say I beat your Pokemon and it's like, okay, Joe's going to use Geodude. Do you want to change? And I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll change to a water type because mine comes out after you get the first hit in. But it's like, but I beat your Pokemon, so I should get the first hit. There's a few instances like that.
It's based on speed. Oh, I guess not if you switch.
Not if you switch.
Not if you switch. Yeah.
But also, like, I do also sometimes think that some of the debuffs and buffs, you don't really notice them. Like, oh, the defense is down. It's like, is it?
Yeah.
Like, except for the one that I really noticed was accuracy, but that's because I would do it like 5 or 6 times in a row to really blind a Pokemon. But most of the time, it's like, I couldn't even notice if the speed was high. Or sometimes even like repel or other things, it wouldn't seem to do anything. Like, you'd use repel and you'd still get battles.
Yeah, there's like max repel and super repel and stuff. What do you think? So one of the big things with this game is they added like day-night cycle and like days, like times of the week, which I think is quite interesting for a Game Boy game, quite impressive. Yeah,
I had to, because I haven't got the cartridge, I played a ROM, and my ROM, I modded it so that I could change the day to times whatever I want. But actually in the end, I ended up not really changing the time. So I think it's
kind of nice just to have a change of scenery, it looks quite nice at night with like the glowing windows.
Yeah, but I had to use a guide quite a lot, and I'd notice in the guide it would say if you come back here at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, there'll be this, and this. Whereas I wouldn't do that because I'm just going forward. But I did have to use a guide quite a lot because it would be like, you need to go in the house next door to the gym and speak to the guy to progress. It's like I never would have done that if it wasn't for the guide.
Oh, I spoke to like everyone, so I think like I don't think I needed a guide for anything.
Oh, okay. No, mine was like I didn't have strength, and the whole bit with the theater girl, the 5 kimono girls.
Yeah,
I just missed all of that. So I was in the next city, and I was like, how do I get that thing? It was like the kimono girls in the theater, but because all of the buildings look the same, which is obviously a technical limitation, it's like the same tile set no matter what the building is. I would just walk past buildings without realizing that they were.
So I would go to every building. I'd talk to everyone because sometimes they'd be like, "Hey, here's a TM," or like, "Hey, here's this." So I would just, or like there'd be some like funny dialogue. So I kind of just naturally found everything. I think that way.
Yeah, I think the only building I remember looking particularly different was that Bellsprout Tower.
Yeah.
For some reason, that because the lighthouse just looks like your house, but like stretched up. It didn't have like the stripes going around it or nothing. But obviously, there's.
I think compared to like the first generation, I think there are less like really distinct special areas. I think a lot of the towns look very similar compared to the original, and like the original had a lot of things like the safari zone, and like the SSN, the boat. And there is a boat in this one, but it's like much smaller, and you never go outside on it. Like there was. And even like that area in the first one, where you're riding like the bike down and you can't go up because you're riding and you have to be on a bike. Like I think there was more unique areas in Kanto compared to Johto.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's probably because they've crammed much content on this. But the Kanto that you get on this game is not the full Kanto, is it? It's got a few things missing, as far as I know.
So I've not explored it yet, but like that was one of my highlights. Was when you first arrive and there's this guy who goes like, do you realize what's just happened? And I'm like, what? And he's like, look at the map. Yeah. I mean, it was just text on screen. I'm adding some drama to it. And then you look at the map and it's like the Kanto map.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But then you go to it. It actually really reminded me of Tears of the Kingdom. Because obviously in Tears of the Kingdom, you're returning to the Hyrule that's in Breath of the Wild. But it's all different. And it's like, this is what it's like after this amount of time and stuff. And that's what this is like. They've really, like, all new dialogue for all of the characters. It's not just, you're in the first game again. And it's like, this used to be where all of the ghost Pokemon were in that graveyard. But it's now like a radio tower. And this place used to be this, but now it's this. And like, so they've really changed it. So I'm like really enjoying going through it, and like you're going through it from a weird order because you're not starting from Pallet Town, you're starting from a different place, and there's like there's like this super like fast like magnet train like linking the two big cities from each place, but it's not powered, so you've got to go to the power station, and then there's like the power station where you used to get
Electabuzz.
Yeah. Is it Electabuzz?
Yeah,
it's called?
Get him there,
Is it Zapdos?
Oh no, we're thinking of two different Pokemon. Electabuzz was definitely there, and Voltorb.
Yeah. So Zapdos, because there was the 3 legendary Pokemon. Yeah. So it's like in the original game, that was like abandoned, this like place that you go for, and it's like, we've like renovated it and now it's working, but you got to get it powered again. So like I've really the game just continues. It's not like the game is Johto and then you can go around Kanto. It's quite fun to see it. It's like no, there's new stuff and storyline and like stuff you have to do and tasks. So I'm really enjoying seeing like this weird twisted version of like a world that I know so well.
So what happens to like the Pokemon levels then? Because I'm kind of feeling like around 30, 35, I can't imagine them like catching ones that are any higher than that.
Yeah, so I mean it's basically leveled to the end.
So it keeps going up to 90 or?
No, I mean like I'm fighting like I think my Pokemon are around, let's have a look. Let's have a live look. So I think most like Pokemon in the wild I run into around 35.
Right.
But in like Pokemon battles like with trainers they'd be higher. So yeah, my Pokemon are all around like level 50.
And are you just like smashing the gyms or is it still?
I mean like obviously with the gyms is they'd be like, I get the grass Pokemon.
Oh, of course,
and
so, the right type.
Yeah, and I always make sure I do have the right type, or at least like have the right moves. Like, it's like, I've got like this Pokemon that can learn like various moves of different types. Also, you like talking about capturing Pokemon. I have a Gloom that is basically my catch Pokemon. It's just my utility Pokemon. So for one, it knows Flash and Cut. So I didn't have to waste those rubbish moves on other good Pokemon. And then it also knows absorb, which is really weak,
Yeah.
and no sleep powder because you have a better chance of catching Pokemon if they're asleep.
Yeah, you told me that, but I didn't find much difference putting them to sleep.
Yeah, I think I think you get like 17% increase or something.
Okay,
like it makes
yeah.
it, and also it just means that they're not attacking you. So if there's a Pokemon where it's like I need to take their health down a bit, I switch out Gloom. Like I might use Cut or Absorb. Then I put them to sleep, and then I catch them. And then like I switch. So Gloom's just there as like a tool for me, which made capturing Pokemon a lot easier.
Yeah, I had a lot of my Pokemon can do Confuse, and the sheep that I've got, the Flaffy, does 2 different moves that do Paralyze,
and
then also I had 2 that could do Sleep as well. So maybe I went more that direction than just doing raw damage, especially because I feel like the Water type, he wasn't very good against a lot of the opening gyms. He was, because the one that I thought was a rock gym was actually a fighting gym. So I was like, oh, that's the one I'll smash. And it was like, oh no, it's still fighting types. And then it was like the grass one to start with. And then you also do a water one as well. Well, I've got water one coming. Yeah, I found that my starter Pokemon, he wasn't like smashing. And also a lot of the ones you start to catch at the beginning are grass types. Yeah. So even then, he was like, I can't do anything against like a Bellsprout or like anything like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of bug early on, which flying's good against.
Yeah, so that's why my Pidgey's so good, because I've kept him since the beginning. I caught him really near the start, and he's got Gust, which is really powerful. Fly, where he flies out the way, which is also really helpful. That one does help turn the, if you're kind of on the back foot, Fly will kind of skips a turn, so will put you back in.
Yeah, and it's just good damage as well. Fly, like a lot of like Fly and Strength, like and Surf. Those like HMs are quite nice because they're at that nice level where you have about like 15 to 20 PP. Like when I see a move's got like 15 PP, I'm like, that's the right level. Because there's some that are like 5 PP, and I know it's really strong, but it's going to run out really quick, and it will probably miss loads. But like 15, I'm like, that's probably doing about 80 to 90 damage, like power. Yeah. And then like that's the sweet spot for moves for me.
Well, I was going back to the Pokemon Center a lot, so I never ran out of PP on any of my moves.
Yeah. Should we talk about PP a bit more? Because I'm quite.
Saying PP.
It's just fun saying PP. And
I was guessing what you've just said, which is the lower the PP, the higher the power.
Yeah.
So I was like looking at my moves.
That was my experience.
Yeah. I did actually have a PP boosting item, and I never used it as well. No. So, also, did you sell any of our items? They're worth so much money.
I think there was some that like ones that I knew I was just never going to use.
Yeah, I sold a couple for like 1,000 each.
See, money was never a problem.
Yeah, I kept running out all the time.
I mean, I guess I don't really use items much. I only use them when like I really had to, and I was trying to use them more here. But then also, once you get to the Elite Four, so they're like really difficult compared to anything else in the game. Like they all have 6 Pokemon, and they're all like weird, like Steel or Dark and Psychic, and like some of the ones that are like a little bit more confusing to know what to fight against, and you have to do them all back to back.
Yeah.
But when you fail, you just return, and all of your leveling's done. You get loads of money. So like I kind of ended up gaining loads of money then. So yeah, I got like 56 grand.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, nice.
just jangling in my pockets.
Yeah, I would tend to have about 2 grand on me at any time. So I was like, I can either buy Pokeballs or I can buy potions. And that's kind of, I would be struggling one way or the other. But also with the types, you just said Steel, like I don't feel like the types are like a logical. They start logical, but then like Steel type is like, you'd think if you said to me Steel type, I'd be like, okay, so it'll be weak to electric and water because of rust and it can conduct. It's not the case. It's weak to fighting. What are you talking about?
So they were added to kind of, so obviously, so Dark and Steel are the new types for this generation. And they're basically to plug holes from the first generation where, like, I think Psychic was too OP because there wasn't really a good counter to it.
Yeah.
So a lot of these were added in like, oh, we need a thing to counter Psychic. And there's not really an obvious thing. So I think they were added in just as like a band-aid to fix kind of bad design decisions from Gen 1.
From Gen 1, yeah. Maybe they just didn't think it was going to be... People weren't going to play it competitively like they do, you know?
No. I mean, yeah, definitely. They never expected that. And they also intended this to be the final one. So this was meant to be a direct sequel, and it is, which is cool, having it's like 3 years after the events of the last one. So for me, knowing that first gen really well, I kind of liked that.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're going to add everything we can. We're going to add like radio stations and all of these, because this is going to be like the last big Pokemon game. And we haven't mentioned like, it was sort of like a hit. Like it sold 23 million copies on Game Boy Color, like just Gold and Silver, not Crystal. and it was the best-selling game on Game Boy Color, third best-selling on like the original Game Boy.
Yeah,
because it was, you could play it on the original Game Boy and like Pocket or whatever, and then Color as well. So like this was a huge hit. Like I think a lot of people talk about Red, Blue, and Yellow more because they were the first, but this was as big as those.
Yeah, and also it was made by like 20 people, right?
Yeah, it was
really
a very I think there was like
team.
3 programmers or something. It was a very
one artist,
small team.
Yeah, which is just crazy. You just mentioned the radio tower. Just quickly, did you see that episode where they do Dungeons and Dragons at the radio tower?
No.
Oh my god, it's the best one.
There's a lot. One. The TV show,
it's like, legit good.
It's genuinely like quite good. Like we are continuing to like watch through it. I was kind of doing it as like, oh, I'm going to watch a few for the podcast, and now we're just carrying on to watch it. Yeah,
I find with the TV show, which I enjoyed a lot. Same thing with a lot of Pokemon stuff. Is like I'm a fan of Pokemon. Don't know if I'm a fan of the games. Yeah. Like the mainline games, every time I'm like, always a little bit disappointed of like, oh, this is happening again, or like I'm stuck here again, or like. Whereas I love Pokemon. Generally, like the monsters are great. All the spin-off games are great. Seeing them literally brings me so much joy. Like if I go to someone's house and they've got like a Pokemon plush or something, I'm like, oh my god, you've got like Pikachu. Like this is great. Like, but then when I actually sit down and play the games, I'm always like, oh man, this is actually quite annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the modern ones, I've always been like, I want to recapture it, and I've always just been like, oh no, these just feel like JRPGs now, which I don't really like. So normally I would, but I loved going back to this one. Like I think probably nostalgia helped, but I just think it's like, I just really, as you said, the sense of adventure and exploring this world and like that's like the feeling of that progression. Like the best way I can sum how much I enjoyed it was like I was traveling a lot when playing it, and I was about to travel up to Scotland, and I was about to get on like a train, and like British trains are rubbish, and I was excited about the train ride because I was like, I'm gonna play Pokemon. It's like the perfect traveling game. It's like, like if you're traveling for like half a day, as I'd often be. Yeah. Like a lot of those like little hiccups where like it was a bit slow or like it's like that goes because like when I'm playing for hours anyway, like it's not like if I like I've got something else to do. Like you can really just like go down and like it just eats away like long journeys. And I mean that's what these were designed for. They were designed for like portable consoles and like commuting long journeys or like playing for like when you're on the go. And I think it's the perfect travel companion game.
How many hours have you got?
Did I put into it?
Yeah, if you go to save it, it should tell you what you're.
I will have a little look-see. I mean, I was playing it so much, that's why I started playing the card trading game. Yeah. Was to like slow myself down a little bit. 32 hours, 32 hours.
30, exactly double what I played. Yeah, I was on 16.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because I've done a decent amount of like Kanto as well. Do you want to see the? Sorry, that's the Kanto.
Oh, nice.
Like you get like the whole new.
Oh, awesome.
The whole new thing.
Yeah.
Did we get? I saw we got quite a few questions.
We got loads of questions. A lot of the questions we covered off by like naming our favorite Pokemon and why you picked this one. That one came up a lot of times as well.
Yeah, hopefully I explained that away. I will say I am going to play after this. I'm going to play the Ruby Sapphire generation. I'm going to play Emerald, which is the crystal of that one. Like that was like the one they released after. So I've got Emerald on it. I got that on a cartridge. So I am going to play that because I've never played it before. I'm wondering whether like I'd enjoy it as much just because it's Game Boy Advance and I wonder if the graphics are going to be too good. I won't like it.
I don't know. I mean, I really like. Well, I guess I enjoy a lot of the new quality of life things over this one, but it's still a bit. I think I could feel the age of this one going back to it. I don't know. I think I would rather play one of the newer ones than one of the older ones again.
See, I was surprised at how modern it felt. Like apart from the like it's those text screens, but I think everything else, like the rest of the wrappings around it, the way it's designed, the way like the scale of the world, like the day-night cycle, and like I didn't realize there's like roaming legendary Pokemon.
Oh, is there?
There's 3 legendary Pokemon.
Wait, no, legendary. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say about the Gyarados, but yeah,
but they show up in different places at different times, and like you can attack them, but they often run away. But the damage is permanent. So when you see them again, you can keep chipping them down. Yeah. You have these different radio stations, and there's a bit where like Team Rocket take over the radio and they take over every different channel and then you have to go to the radio tower. I was like, this is cool. And then like, I don't know if you got to that bit, like the music of like when Team Rocket take over, like I really like that bit. And then the way it links to like Kanto, I was like, this is like, they are like pushing the limit of what a Game Boy could do.
Definitely.
But I don't think it's like, I think they pull off their intentions. I don't think there's too many asterisks that you need to add for like what this game's doing.
Yeah. Right. Questions. Adam South on Discord, our blood brother, has written in and said, do you think the mainline Pokemon games have strayed too far from the original recipe for what made these games so much fun and successful? Would you like to see them take a step back and revert a lot of the elements to that were seen in the older games? And they've also answered it themselves, so I'll read that out as well. They say, I do
No!
Yeah.
No, you idiot! Me? Looking in the mirror.
No, it starts off saying, hey, shut up! It says, I do welcome a lot of the changes made through the years, such as the quality of life changes, but some changes make the newer games feel a little stale to me, and I don't get the same excitement. Pokemon has had a huge impact on my life. Gold and Silver, Black and White, my favourite Pokemon games all the time, and I could sit here all day listing memories.
Yeah, so what you like about that stuff is the time of your life when you were playing them, Adam. Just to be like the same as it is with me. Like it's not necessarily that like those things were better. Like it's just that's how nostalgia works.
Yeah.
So for me, like I think the opposite. I think they haven't changed enough. Like, there's so much that is like, I think they feel like they can't change. And like, I think Arceus is a good example of like when they do take a leap. And like they're never going to recapture this unless they just do direct like remakes for like my kind of nostalgia. Like I would like them to take a big swing and be like a big refresh. Like, no, you know what? We're going to get rid of the bang and we're going to not limit it to like 4 moves. We're going to like start like we're going to add proper like Pokemon sounds. They're going to say their names rather than just do cries, because like the budget of these games should be high enough to afford that, because they print money. Like I want to see like what would happen if the team that made Breath of the Wild made a Pokemon game. Was like I want to see like a big leap, and they've always had very incremental steps where it'd be like basically the same game, but there's mega evolutions, or there's this like this game's gimmick, but then we stick to that same formula. Whereas I'm like, no, like I want them to be a little bit more ambitious.
Like
maybe.
I don't remember the swords too well, but I swear they still have them when you go in the Pokemon Center. It's like, this is the Pokemon Center.
Yeah,
we can heal
they have so
Pokemon
much of that
health.
same dialogue.
And it's like, oh, we added you can make curry. And it's like, I don't care about the curry. Make it so the Pokemon Center doesn't say to me every single time I go in, good morning. Like, it's literally like, everything just takes so long. And a lot of that has carried over. Like, I swear the move learning thing is still the same in the new ones. And in the new ones, they still use 2 lines of dialogue per box as well.
I think a lot of it is like they want to appeal to people of our age, and like for people that stayed with this, we didn't, but for people that stayed with this series the whole way through, I think they're trying to cater to them a bit, and so there's some core things that they keep carrying, and I would be way more interested to see them be like, no, you know what, we're going to take the concept of capturing these Pokemon and battling with them. That's the core we're going to take. Everything else is like, you know, like up for discussion about whether we keep or not.
You should have a look at the Pokemon Puzzle League Game Boy Color game, because that has got a massive budget, I think. You like play as Ash, and he like runs around a map, and it's like, it literally looks like...
Yeah.
It looks a generation ahead. Well, I guess it kind of is generation ahead of these ones that we played. But yeah, I agree. Pokemon cries as well, like that's always been quite weird to me. Yeah,
and I think like these games just I don't think they get the resources behind them.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bit of a weird situation in terms of like the way the pie is cut, in terms of like it's Game Freak making it. Pokemon's owned by the Pokemon Company, but Nintendo has exclusive rights and a stake in Pokemon. Like I know it's like confusing, and so maybe that is what kind of hurts them getting a budget, but with the amount of money that the series makes, like why does it feel like a C-tier Nintendo game? I know it's not technically Nintendo, but you know,
maybe they feel like they can get away with it because it still sells so many. It's like, why pour more resources into it?
Yeah, but that has diminishing returns long run. You know, like I feel like that.
I know. Yeah,
that ends up like going down the Guitar Hero road or something. You know, not to like the same level, but eventually, you know, if this becomes the expectation, like that goodwill and nostalgia, like that will run dry. Mm-hmm. And if you're not making something that's compelling enough by itself. Like you're limited, this could be a franchise that people are discussing in 100 years if they do this well.
Yeah.
Like it could be like a Mickey Mouse like scenario, but like that isn't going to happen unless like the quality increases. And like the modern ones, like I looked at a trailer and I'm like, that is not a world I want to explore.
Well, yeah, you didn't play
ugly.
Arceus, did you? Because it's so graphically.
Yeah, I didn't want to play that because it
barren.
looks like, I thought it looked ugly. And then the newer ones from that, people were comparing like, it's so bad. Look at it compared to Arceus. I'm like, is Arceus now like that's the good one of them? And it even kind of goes back to why I didn't want to play the remakes of this, like that sort of DS kind of 3D, like the pixel art, like it's kind of like, especially I will mention, like we were both playing on the Analog Pocket.
Yeah,
I did also play some of it on my original Game Boy Color, and I did a comparison. And obviously, the original Game Boy isn't backlit, so it's much darker. But the thing that I really noticed is the colors are so washed out on the original gameplay. So if you're watching the video version, there's some footage of it here now where there's kind of a direct comparison between the two. So I guess we got to remember that we were playing in like the best possible way.
Yeah, and we were playing with we had sleep. So we could put the console to sleep, which you never used to be able to do.
Yeah.
But some of the Pokemon portraits, when they come to fight you, they look really good still. Like Farfetch'd looks amazing. It's so detailed. And also Grimer, is so expressive. Wheezing as well. He looks really good. They look way better than I actually remember.
Yeah, it's more the actual world, and some of the human characters when you're not talking to them big, and some of them have lime green splotches on their face and stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing with the NPCs is it's impossible to know who are the important ones, because they only have 5 models. And one of them might be the one that gives you the next HM you need to progress the game.
It'll be a main character, but they look the same as all of the other ones.
In fact, the only guy I can remember looking different is the guy who's I'm investigating the lake, and he's got a cape on.
Yeah,
apart
or Lance,
from that, I can't remember what anyone.
Yeah, so he's the final one you fight in the Elite Four.
Oh, he's one of the Elite Four.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Spoilers
for
this 2000 game. Something that I'm talking about, the graphics and stuff, something I noticed with the footage just earlier today is when they do a transition, you can see for a second what it looks like with just the colors. And there's some bits where it's looks like a scene, it's like a town. And then they show the colors and it's 3 colors, and it'd be water, entire background, and windows and doors are yellow.
Yeah.
And then but then it comes in with the detail, and when you look at it, you're oh, this is the world. But it's basically just one color. Apart from the water and the wind, it's super.
Well, it had to operate on the original Game Boy, right? So I guess that's why it probably
and so obviously in Crystal, I think they improved that a bit. But the fact that you could just see a few different squares of 3 colors, and that's what they're doing in terms of color, but then the artwork they do over it makes it look like a town.
Yeah.
I think that's they did good with the limitations, and no unlike the Zelda games and Survival Kids, no kind of transitions or big transitions between screens.
No,
Well, you can ride your bike from worlds. You can see sometimes a little jerk when it's loading in.
Does, yeah.
And that was when in the original games, if you're playing on color, you'll see a color palette switch.
Right.
They would change. But you could ride around the entire world and do laps of it without it ever stopping you, which I think is quite impressive.
Yeah, and I know it's a bit of a meme now, but some of the attack animations in this game are not bad. Some of them look pretty good. Surf. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah.
Makes the whole screen ripple. And also some of the ones where a Pokemon would bind you or shoot string around you, they would look legit good.
Yeah.
There's one where Caterpie fires a wire, and there's only 2 colours, but the way they've done it, it actually genuinely looks like string going around. And I was God, it's actually looks legit.
Yeah.
But obviously now, you always see the ones with the 3D model just tackles.
Yeah.
Or I think tail whip.
They almost look worse now.
Yeah, they
because
do,
it's you can see them just stretching a model rather than animating it so much. They kind of get away with it a bit more with these old ones.
And we got a comment from Soom on our Discord as well, who pretty much agrees with everything we've said, but they've managed to put it down into 1 paragraph rather than an hour of talking. They've said less of a question, more of a statement, but Gold and Silver are the worst in the series due to things like Generation 2 Pokemon aren't as good, and a lot of the better Pokemon can't be got until post-game. People think the evil team isn't as interesting as the original Team Rocket or the new teams in other games. Leveling between gyms isn't done as well. Actually, you have 3 gyms you can go to at the same time. We didn't actually talk about that. And you're normally under-leveled for one of them and over-leveled for another one. Also, the wild Pokemon are on much lower level than the gyms, making training difficult and tedious. Yeah, we didn't mention the fact that you can go to 3 gyms
Yeah, I kind of mentioned about how it's almost like a Metroidvania, and it's like, and the way the world links back on itself before you have fly. So like even before you're flying, there's like one like crossroad where there was that big tree Pokemon. And that like allows you to quickly get around, which is quite smartly designed.
Yeah, I did find what they're saying though is that of the three, I would always get really stuck on one of the gyms, and then the other ones I would beat like first try and be just absolutely steamroll through them. Still quite cool though, like of Nintendo back then to give players a choice, because they weren't really doing that.
Yeah,
So,
no, a lot of freedom.
Yeah. We've got loads of questions about stuff we've covered, and also Aston Villa water bottle from YouTube, which is an amazing username, just said, please, dear God, talk about the leveling. Please talk about the leveling in this game. So I think it's a common thing that people don't.
I'm glad I didn't hear much talk about it before, because I didn't really focus. I was like, yeah, I guess they're right, but
yeah,
I just wanted to be in that world. I didn't care. I was happy. I was happy to level and grind and power them up, and I didn't, because of, as I say, with the types, like you could be under-leveled and beat people, because you would have you'd be playing with the aces the whole game, so it never really became a problem.
I think the worst one was Abra, leveling Abra, because he only has teleport.
Yeah.
So like you usually put him out and you just put him back again straight away. But in the end, he ended up having Confuse and Dynamic Punch, which is an insane move.
Yeah.
That Poliwhirl, that fighting gym, that guy beat me like 6 times. Literally just punching every single Pokemon that came out, confusing them, or just killing them in a single punch as well, which was crazy. But I think, maybe because I was more under-leveled, I lent much more on the like status.
Yeah. See, I never, because I'm always just trying to get through the fight, so I'm like, I don't want to waste a turn not doing damage.
Did you know we have a Patreon? Maybe you're unsure what that is.
Patreon allows you to support us directly, and in return you get exclusive stuff. Access to our Discord server, behind-the-scenes content, and an exclusive podcast series.
Your support means we can up our production and continue making fun videos. You can join us at patreon.com/thebonuspoints. And it has a free trial too.
Woohoo!
Right. Pokemon going on the list. I think I'm going to put it down lower than you. And I hope after our discussion, I still think you're going to put it high, but I think maybe you've had your eyes opened to some of the issues of it more so than you did when you were playing it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But I mean, if we, like what we always say, like when a guest comes on and they're like, oh, how are you ranking this? Because like, are you taking it, like how influential it was and the legacy and stuff. And so we always say we're ranking it on how much like enjoyment did we get from this piece of media
in 2024.
Like in that time. And so obviously there's nostalgia stuff, but like if I'm like ranking it on how much I just enjoyed playing it for that time, it goes really high for me.
Like how high are we talking?
Like probably like 3.
Wow. Okay.
As I said, I started playing the Pokemon card training game because I was playing it too quick. Like I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like I was the last few weeks I've been having a cocktail of Elden Ring and Pokemon, and the drinking's been fine, my friend. I have been.
It's gone down smooth.
Yeah, I have been loving gaming. And honestly, like the last few weeks traveling up like and down to Scotland, even like as soon as we finish this podcast, I'm leaving to travel up to Scotland, and I'm like, normally like I hate that like long journey and traveling, but I'm like, I want to see more of Kanto. I love going through and like getting these badges. I love the silly little bit of dialogue, and there's absolutely nostalgia at play, but not for this game in particular. Like I am enjoying this as a game by itself, and I know like I'm not going to argue that this game is better than Tears of the Kingdom or Alan Wake 2 or Death Stranding or Hollow Knight. I wouldn't argue that it's better than them, but it's just something about that pure format that Pokemon established of capturing and leveling up Pokemon and training them that like I really love that core. And I love these generations the most because people don't talk too much, and there isn't like
true.
There aren't loads of characters. Like it hasn't got it hasn't got much story, but that means it hasn't got a bad story. And then what is there is like is fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, like I had a
it's like at the worst, it's fun.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
and like when and it does like, and I think a lot of it is at the end of the game. You probably haven't seen like where they take over the radio tower, and you've got to like go in and say they're basically putting out like a radio call for Giovanni, who was in the first game. I remember
Giovanni,
because it's a direct sequel. He's like gone, and so they take over the radio station to take over every radio channel to basically say like, hey, we're back, like, come back. Like, 'cause we're taking, and so it's cool going through your radio and like every station is like that message with some like really good music. Like that was an exciting moment, but I mean, it's just the pure format of this game. Like I think this is the perfect like portable game.
Yeah. Okay. All good points. I was thinking more like down 31, 30 kind of level.
I did not expect that.
Of like the actual pure fun that I had. Obviously, I played this a lot with my partner, and the last game where we kind of had this amount of back and forth and playing it together and like, oh, don't play it unless I'm there, was like What Remains of Edith Finch, which we played through together as well. And I kind of think for me, it was that same, it was around that sort of level. Like I found myself getting very frustrated with leveling, be getting stuck at a boss and being like, I don't have a fire type. I need to go and find a fire type. Oh, I found one. Oh, I killed it. What can I do? Like, I got a water Pokemon, or like my Pokemon's so strong.
That's like
and it's
the
like
strategy.
Yeah, but I'm just not very good at it.
But like, did you like were you trying to do it? Like,
mate, I played it for 16 hours. Like,
but like that's my enjoyment. Is like, oh, I've run into like this thing, or like, oh, I know I'm going to go into a cave. I know there's going to be like loads of Geodudes and Onyx, so I'm going to arrange my party for this. But it's like, but there's this one I want to level up, so I can send out this one to get the XP. And
but then it's like, oh, this is one I got to level up. That'll be 2 hours then of like walking in a square in a field because it levels up so slowly.
Yeah.
And then I found a hack online for like, you can put them in the daycare and then go to like, it's a place called like Ecu-Treek or something. Like, it's like a gym where you have to walk along a very specific line or you fall down. But it's like if you just stand to the left of it and hold forward, you'll walk and then fall down over and over again. Oh, and every step you take levels up your Pokemon. So I did that for 15 minutes. My Pokemon went up 2 levels and I was like, I can't get him up to level 30. Like, it's going to take way too long.
Fun story about that daycare thing is I can't remember which Pokemon it was, but I left a Pokemon there.
Yeah.
And then, like, I came back and they'd leveled loads, but because they had learned new moves, they'd automatically deleted old ones.
Them, yeah.
And it deleted any move that it could do to attack.
Oh, really?
And I was like, great. You're giving me a passive Pokemon. All it wants to do is hug.
Also, their system's quite weird, where it's like you leave the Pokemon, they're like, oh yeah, leave him, look after him, and you try and get him back, and they're like, it's actually 300 coins. It's like, you should have told me that at the start.
We should have agreed a price. Where's the contract? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, for me, playing a Pokemon game, like this is not, if I was going to play a Pokemon game again, it would not be this one. No way on earth it would be this one. It would be Arceus, I guess, or whatever the new Arceus is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not going to replay it again straight away, but I would like.
But you are, because you're going to play it as soon as you leave.
But no, but I'm still playing my first.
Yeah, but I'm not going to pick this up again. This is done.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm like sad. I'll be sad when I've finished it, and I will be going to the Game Boy Advance games because like they'll be like close to it, and I'm really good. But like I think it just does so much more. Like the berry system works really well. Like you can make.
Does it?
Yeah,
you can turn them into Pokeballs. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's a separate thing.
And that takes
berries.
24 hours, and a Pokeball's 300 coins. It's like I'm just going to buy them.
Yeah,
like,
but
why would I give him a berry? Like,
well, because it's free. It's just something that you can do for free.
Yeah, but it's like you have to go back there and pick it up, and it's like before you had Fly, it's like quite annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I'd mainly do it when I had Fly, but that's just a cool thing. It's like, oh, you got like this Pokeball is really good for capturing like low-level Pokemon. So it's like, oh, that's good. Or like this is good for capturing Pokemon that you caught with a fishing rod.
The lure ball, yeah.
Like obviously like the thing is that's cool is like in like a modern one that would be the whole big thing. It's like there's special Pokemon. Like this is the Pokemon with special. Whereas this is like no, this is just like a cool little thing which is part of the package of cool little additions that they've made to this game, and it's kind of nice. Like as I say. It helps create the illusion of this is this world, and you're like, oh yeah, my Pokeball's probably ready. I go pick it up. Oh yeah, I'll go get my Pokemon from the daycare. It's it really helps like with the fantasy of you're living in this Pokemon world.
Well, I suppose you had that more than me though, because yours was ticking in real time, right?
Yeah.
Whereas mine was I basically played from Wednesday to Friday.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any more. Even though I could change the time myself, I just wasn't really thinking about doing it because.
And then they'll be like, "Oh, it's Thursday, so I can do the bug catching contest and like go and do that but it's only open on these certain days." Like that for a Game Boy Color game, a Game Boy original game as well. Like that is pretty ambitious.
Oh yeah, it's
I think
ambitious.
They pull it off.
It's definitely ambitious and good, but you know, in 2024, as we said, it's not that big a deal, is it?
No, but I feel like it's. Even for like modern games, like it's doing some pretty cool. It's like not like day-night cycles with different things that happen. Like that's still not that kind of like different dialogue. When you go to the Pokemon Center, they're like, "Oh, you're up late." Like little touches like that.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty good, and you don't even get that with modern games all the time.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool. But then you do have to think like Animal Crossing. They made it so you could change the shops to open or close whenever you want, because actually it's quite annoying having to work to their schedule.
Yeah, to a certain extent, you can't completely do that.
No, but you can like shift them forward or backwards because it's like not necessarily the best. But I just think all the changes they've made to these games, even though we're not really playing them anymore, they have made these changes for a reason. And going back to these ones, it does feel very antiquated and it can be very frustrating to get stuck. But anyway, I haven't even placed it yet. I'm just sitting around.
I think my play environment probably was a big factor. The fact that I was like, oh, I'm on like a train or a coach or whatever anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm either going to like play this or like sit. and like you know, stare into the void or whatever. Mate, so I think that really, the fact that like you're mostly probably playing this like at home and you're like, I have like almost infinite like entertainment opportunities available me like to watch or play things or do things. And so when you're like there and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do this again, or this is slow, that's pretty more frustrating. Whereas for me, it's like, well, this is like free time anyway. Yeah. And like, so maybe that's the reason that like, if people didn't bring up the problems with the leveling system and like that, like I wasn't even thinking about that. And like I see it, like I'm not arguing against it. Like it's bad. It could have been better back then in the day, but it just didn't bother me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I think like, look, the game is good. The game is good now. It was good when it came out, but it feels old. It feels like when we were talking about Elite. And it was like, oh, it's amazing that it can do this, but it's like,
not that.
Yeah, but like, think about Elite. It's like, oh, he's flying around the space. Like, it's an open world space game. Like, it's amazing that it runs on the NES. It's like, yeah, but have you actually played it? Like, this is a bit like that where it's like, it's amazing. It's amazing they did it at the time.
But I think it controls well, and it's fun riding around in your bike and the music playing. Like, there's only like the D-pad and like basically two buttons. Like, it's very approachable. Yeah, like Elite, there's a lot of friction to even start playing that there isn't with this game.
But the battles are brutal in this game, and it's most of the game.
I don't. Maybe,
so brutal.
I think maybe
literally like, why am I stuck asleep? I can't even do anything. You're standing there like waiting to kill you, and it's healing itself, and it's like, please just make this.
I had a good selection, and I had all of my bases covered. Yeah. Whatever the game threw at me, I was ready for.
Maybe if I played it again. Because the thing I struggled to find was fire Pokemon, and you started with a fire one.
Yeah.
So maybe if I started again, I would pick the fire one, and it would be a different experience.
I wonder what that.
But it was it. It was like the opening section with the grass Pokemon. I'm getting smashed to bits, like, and then all the sections after that would be like, I just don't have the right Pokemon for this at all. Or I'd try and find them, and it would be like just repeatedly getting like Caterpies or Metapods. But yeah, so I would be like, I've got an hour and a half to play today. Oh, I need to level up Abra. That's going to be my hour and a half.
Yeah,
that's my day.
Yeah, but I guess that's a part of my journey. So like, I don't think about that, or like, oh, I'm in a hotel room, like, I'm gonna like. There's something else I didn't really mention is it's a great like podcast game or like have a TV show on and play. Like we did a lot of like playing Pokemon and watching Pokemon because it's not a very dialogue heavy game and there's not like cutscenes or anything. Like I did a lot of, when traveling, I'd be listening to a podcast and playing Pokemon, and like that was really enjoyable.
Where's it going to go then?
I mean, because I won it 3, does that get like...
Yeah,
like
it definitely gets up a bit.
Yeah.
So I think Outer Wilds might be a hard one for it to push through. Like, that was quite cool. That was very talky though, wasn't it? A walkie-talkie game, that was.
I want it top 10.
No, mate, come on. Everyone's commenting being like, this is the worst Pokemon game. And I'm like, yeah, it's also not. It's also like it's kind of annoying to play. So there's no way it can be top 10. There's no way.
Everyone's wrong.
Everyone's wrong except for you.
Everyone's wrong about no one knows how much fun I had with this.
I think it's gonna. I would be happy for it to sit around kind of Earthbound, Pikmin 4, Yoshi's Island, this kind of number here.
What about 17? So it's because because I know how much you like Half-Life Alyx. I won't push for it above that then. But one above Undertale.
You think Pokemon, not Pokemon as a whole, but Pokemon Silver on the Game Boy.
Yeah, the thing that I've spent realistically the last 3 weeks playing, the experience I had playing that game, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than everything apart from Disco Elysium and Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm taking a big hit getting it pushed all the way down here. I'm not going to push it above Alex because I know you liked Alex more than me.
Yeah, I did.
And
like
I feel
Alex
like
a lot,
that's me being greedy. I feel like we both enjoyed Undertale, but weren't like, probably less than most people enjoy Undertale, I guess. But like Gold was like, and Silver, like that generation, like I had like the absolute best time playing it. And I'm going to carry on. I put 32 hours into it, and I'm looking forward to traveling up to Dundee, literally right after this podcast, because I know I'm going to be playing with my Quagsire and having the best time and and going back to like some nostalgia about Kanto is like I had this whole new experience and all these new Pokemon, which is great, which is what I wanted. But now I'm going back to Kanto and seeing like all of the twists and how it's changed and all the new dialogue. Like that is. I don't think it can be understated the fact that they also managed to fit all of the original Pokemon.
Yeah, of course.
as
like
well.
all the stuff you're saying is 100% right, but the way we're ranking them is in 2024.
Yeah, well,
so
it's based on how much fun did we have in 2024.
Yeah.
That's what I'm discussing.
But I think 16, 17, considering it's probably going to be the only Pokemon game on the list for a long time.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a good place for it. And I also think you should just play Pokemon Arceus as well. I think you should.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Just because it looks ugly. Like you've been playing a 1 bit. like whatever it is.
I wonder if I should wait for like the Switch 2 Arceus or Switch 2 Legends.
Yeah, it doesn't run too bad, to be honest. Nowhere near as bad as Scarlet and Violet. I was shocked by Scarlet and Violet.
I think I just like them 2D. I think I like the I think my favorite looking ones are the Game Boy Advance. Like instead, like not nostalgic, like the ones that I think that look best. I think of the Game Boy Advance ones. Like there's like Fire Red and Leaf Green. Like those look really good.
Yeah. Actually, when I said I bought Pokemon Ruby, maybe I actually meant Fire Red.
Yeah.
I bought the remake. Has he got white hair?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I played the one where he's got like white hair or like a white bubble hat or something. I played that one.
Also, it even sort of like for how ambitious it is, the fact that like you can use like the printer and the fact that like you can battle other trainers and like trade Pokemon and that's a cool thing. And it's like Nintendo do kind of gimmick stuff like that all the time, but like people actually like I did that. I
never traded as a kid.
I battled and traded and stuff. Like that is like cool. And then it was actually good. Like back then on the Game Boy. Like there's this was such like a revolutionary game, and I think it is still fun to play today. And I know that there's probably a lot of our audience that kind of started with like DS generation, just judging by like the age of our audience. And I could really imagine if you started with like Black and White and then, you went back and played these. Like I understand how you could struggle, but when that's like my expectation and my bar, and then like this was actually like much better quality of life than I was expecting. Like, so in that stuff, the stuff that I knew was going to be a bit slow and awkward, like expected. So I wasn't kind of surprised.
Look, 17 is a good spot. We've got some of the best games ever made on this list.
Yeah, including Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Pokemon Gold, it's the one that no one likes, but that's fine. Okay, it's the representative for Pokemon on this list.
It sold 23 million copies. Best-selling Game Boy Color game ever.
Mate, you might be able to find this and put it in. When we did Doom, you complained that you couldn't look up and down, and that was one of your like complaints about the game.
Did I complain about that?
You did, yeah. And you were like, I know it's a technical thing, but I can't look up and down. And it's like. You're now doing the other way for Pokemon Gold and Silver. To be like, it was good at the time.
I swear I wasn't complaining. Maybe I made a point about it. I swear I wasn't complaining about it because I don't think that's too much of. Actually, it's a bit weird when you shoot. That's
a bit weird. You're like you can't see down a gap, so you're like edging up towards it. And
maybe that. Maybe I was complaining about it.
But yeah, I mean, look, mate, 17 is good. 17 is good. I'm happy with 17.
Yeah, well, I'm not happy about where it's on the list, but I'm happy that I'm going to carry on playing my beloved Pokemon game.
Exactly. You got to think.
Yeah. And can we find out there's got to be some members in the community that like this is their Pokemon game. Can you be loud in the comments just to make me feel a little bit better?
Yeah, right. 17. Well done, Pokemon Gold and Silver. Gold/Silver, as I put it there. Should we talk about what's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to sort the list out now. Too much clicking. So we've got Skate with a guest next time. 12th of July. That's the original Skate. You can play it on your pretty much whatever Xbox you've got at home.
Yeah, I started. So it's on Game Pass.
It's on Game Pass.
So I started playing it.
Awesome.
I had a session Little skate session.
Nice. And then after that, we've got Titanfall 2 on July 26th, which we're going to play in the Bonus Points Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Some game nights. That'll be the Xbox version. And then you asked me to pick a game after that, and I've actually picked 2, and I can't pick between them. So if I put them to you now, you can pick.
Is it Pokemon Black, Pokemon White?
Yeah.
Is that...
After all that,
Yeah.
it's red and blue.
I just can't pick between them.
Yeah, no, it's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Chaos Theory. So that's 360.
No, original Xbox, but it's meant to be the best Splinter Cell game.
Original Xbox Chaos Theory. Okay, yeah.
Which it's 4K enhanced and everything on the Xbox, so it's pretty good. Or Indica.
That's a modern game, right?
It's a modern
is
game.
that the one where you play as a nun?
It is.
It that one?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I can't choose between them. I literally cannot think.
So I had on my list for like games I want to do, I think it's Splinter Cell Blacklist, which is the Xbox One PS4 generation one.
Yeah.
Which I think is the last mainline one that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold really bad, but I know people that played it like loved it.
I played it.
It's kind of considered like a hidden gem, almost a bit immersive simmy, apparently.
So that's the same for Chaos Theory.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
Chaos Theory would Chaos Theory be more interesting then? Because we probably would only do one of those.
I think if we're only doing one of them, maybe we should do Blacklist because it's more modern and it will just be probably a bit easier to get into.
Okay. I mean, I know this wasn't even. Should we do Splinter Cell Blacklist then, seeing as that's one that.
Well, why don't we do Indica and Blacklist?
Yeah.
One way round or the other. You'll find out. You'll find out one way round or the other. We're going to do those two. I think we should do those two.
Okay. Well, let's do Indica first.
Yeah.
Because then it's just a bit because it's a newer release.
It's a new release.
It's a bit more. I know it's not current, but
Yeah.
you know, and these
Well,
will
it's
be
only a couple of weeks old at the time of this recording.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. But it's going to be months, over
Yeah,
a month till we play
yeah.
it and talk about it. So so Indica will be. Do you know that date that would be? I mean, it's so in the future. It doesn't matter.
Some point in August.
Yeah. You're not going to be
Yeah.
planning that ahead. But if you have played it or are interested in playing it, maybe that's one to add on your list of games to play if you want to play along the podcast.
And then Blacklist episode after.
Yeah.
Unless a guest pops up.
Yep.
Awesome.
As they often do. So,
Yeah.
right. That's going to be the end of this podcast here. We released a new Inverted in Real Life video, a sequel to the first one, which basically we have glasses that make you see the world upside down. We do challenges in real life against each other, and hilarity always ensues. So there's a new one of those coming up. Is out on the channel. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, we got Extra Credit, which is our podcast. Every week, we don't upload a podcast here. We upload an Extra Credit where we talk about mainly kind of current releases, anything else we've been playing, sometimes some like real life stories, like old tales from when we were back at school.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that, that's a Patreon exclusive. And if you want to see kind of all the other things you get on Patreon as well, there's a link down in the description about all of that.
Nice one. I think that's everything.
Okay, cool, brilliant. So we will see you in 2 weeks' time where we're going to be discussing Skate with a guest. Apart from that, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.